As soon as it goes live, I'll do the intro. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the new normal. My name, I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, here once again trying to make the world seem a little more normal. And today, I might succeed in that. I don't know. We'll see. But my guest here to try to help me do that is Vickie Miller, who is a author and a energy healer for people and for pets, which that's the part I am so interested in, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First things first, how you doing tonight, Vickie? Uh, you're can't hear you now.
Am I
There we go.
good now?
Yep,
All right.
yep. How you doing tonight, Vickie?
Awesome. Great to be here.
Glad you could be here. Very inter. When I saw your profile on Podmatch, it was very interesting, and I had to get you on. I had to. So, but the first question I ask everybody on the show always is, what got you into the paranormal slash spiritual world?
Well, I was actually chosen. I was 5 years old. I'm also a medium. So spirits started talking to me, connecting to me at the earliest age as 5. I'm sure it happened a lot sooner than that. But yeah, for many years, I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 20 years, but I actually was raised in Ohio in kind of pretty much a haunted house. And I would see all kinds of ghosts and stuff, but they really didn't scare me because I'm a medium. So it kind of chose me. It wasn't like vice versa.
All right, which that's not the first time I heard that, of course. So I mean that makes sense, and yeah, it's I see. I wish they chose me. I wish, but they didn't. Oh, maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I didn't realize it. I don't know. Problems with growing up in a new built house when there's no residual energy on the land or anything. You got nothing to play with. So,
Yeah,
but
well, it's kind of scary when you're 5 years old and there's a whole bunch of stuff to play with. And I was also raised super religious. So being a medium at 5 and a religious upbringing was not a good thing.
hmm, I can see that. I can see that, and that actually kind of brings us into my second question. I always ask everybody. So, tell us about some of your experiences with spirits or any other phenomenon you may have encountered in your lifetime.
Wow, I have so many. Because I mean, there's all different ones when I'm a medium, so I can connect to loved ones on the other side. So of course, I've been doing that. I mean, I've helped thousands of people and even pets. I work with pets too, so yeah, I see their spirits too. Growing up, though, I would see a lot of Indian bear. I believe our house was actually on an Indian burial ground in Ohio, and I would see a lot of Indians. We had a lot of weird things that happened in our house. I would go down to my best stop. We lived on 5 acres, and there would be like footsteps, and I would literally see ghosts. I guess one of the best stories were, I'm not going to say best stories, but I was married at the time, and I went up to Lake Winnipesaukee. That's in New Hampshire. Yeah, I was there on vacation, and I was fighting with a ghost, which I was so done with. And I'm so happy I'm a medium because I realized what I was fighting with. But there was this man we were all staying there. I have 5 kids, but at the time, I think I only had 3 kids. And there was our door kept on opening, I kept on shutting my door where we were staying at. We were staying right on the lake, and there is tons of energy there. If you guys have never been to Lake Winnipesaukee, it's just tons of death energy. The whole Northeast to me has a lot of death because of, Civil War and everything. But this specific place was called Abe's Farm. And we were in the whole family was staying in this area. And there was like all these farmhouses. And then in the middle was like this farmhouse where they transformed it into like a restaurant. So that night, the whole night, the door kept on opening, kept on shutting. I kept on shutting the door. It kept on opening again, kept on shutting. And I saw this old man there, and, me being medium, thank God I saw him. And I was just like, okay, you got to leave this door alone. Like, I am done with this and done with fighting this. Leave me alone. I saw him to a T, exactly what he looked like. And then my son must have been like 10 at the time. He heard footsteps too, going down the hallway at the same time. And the next day I go into the kitchen, I'm eating lunch, and I look up and I see the man, which is Abe, the total ghost of what was there. And he even told me that night, he's looking on his property, but I didn't really realize that was his property. So it was actually the ghost of Abe, I guess, the person that he owned it back in the 1800s. That was still in the whole place. And it wasn't just me that saw him. My husband also felt and my mother-in-law too had some weird things happen to her little place too. So I feel he was just like visiting and taking care of pretty much the whole place.
Interesting. And I actually live pretty close to there. I'm right on the New Hampshire border up
Oh,
here in
you are?
Massachusetts.
There's
Yeah.
tons of energy. There's tons of everything up there.
My house is actually haunted, and I have a previous guest in this podcast coming over on the 5th of December to do a clearing because we're getting tired of dealing with it. But
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it can be very
yeah,
frustrating. But good
and
luck
plus
with
we can't
that.
even, yeah, I mean we can't even put the dogs in the garage because they get so spooked out. They sound like someone's killing them.
Yeah, well, that whole area up there, I mean, I've been all around the world. I mean, and with my readings too. And that whole area up there, there's a lot of, lots of really old energy and a lot of residual from this, from the war and stuff. So death energy is not my favorite, of course, where there was a lot of war and a lot of death. And I've been clearing houses myself for many years. And I will tell you, Native American and what you're dealing with is going to be not easy to continue to like clear. You have to might have to clear it a couple times.
Yeah, well, I don't believe where we are is a Native American issue. I think it's the previous owners of the house. I was led to believe by a previous paranormal investigator who came up here, and just to figure out what we're dealing with. And they say it's the owners of the house that that passed away. But
Yeah.
so it's but I mean my wife does come from a property that was a Native American burial ground that her grandfather built on back in the early '90s before anybody knew that. And it's actually right in the it's actually right in the Bridgewater Triangle area of Massachusetts, which is full of Native American goodies because they cursed that whole freaking area. So,
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of energy up there. There's a lot of ghosts and paranormal and all that.
so every medium is different. So how do your powers work per se? Like, what's the best way you could describe them? Kind of.
Yeah, well, I will see, I will hear, I will feel, I'll even feel how they died. I will be able to communicate to them. They come to me in all different forms. And so I see, feel, sense. I use all of my senses. I'll feel the same thing in my body. I'll hear all of my senses. They connect to me and communicate to me.
Right. Which I mean that yeah. So you're a full blown medium in every single sense then. Because I mean
Yes.
I've talked to some who can only like they can only hear but they can't see.
Oh, I
I
do all of
talked
it.
I've talked to other ones who can see and can't hear. Like you get a mixed bag when you're in this when you interview people in this field. But so it's interesting always to see like which one certain people can do. But
Yeah, I resist it for many years, being, raised in a Christian, like a religious upbringing. But yeah, I mean, it's just in ghosts too. I haven't seen a lot of, scary ghosts, but there is ones. There's poltergeists. I've dealt with a lot of because a lot of kids will actually, if they're hormonal, around the ages of even as young as 7, I will see 7 to 12, they'll bring in a poltergeist energy, so that when they change their hormones, they can actually bring that in. So I have, seen a lot of those, and those aren't really. It's just those are more annoying. It's a lot of electricity and a lot of heat and cold and just screws around with you like a little kid would. Maybe the garage doors go up and down, or the electricity blows, or the air conditioning keeps dropping itself down to 65. So I have dealt with that stuff. But I'll see my I can tap into anything just by a name, a person's name, or a pet's name, and I will be able to tell you everything past, present, future. I also I predicted COVID. I predicted the weather. I can pretty much tap into everything.
ooh, interesting. And we'll actually touch back on that at the end because I have a couple questions on that one. But I kind of want to get into the pets part because you're the first person I talked to who really, like, straight out said, I work with pets too and animals, which that is a unique thing to me for mediums as far as I've talked to. So, do you work with all kinds of pets, or is it mainly like cats and dogs or farm animals?
I work at farming. I work with everything. Horses are my passion, but I work with dogs, cats, horses. I mean, I've been at a zoo and worked with dolphins and snakes, and I mean everything. Every animal. All animals are energy, so I work with them all.
Okay, gonna have to take this one at a time here, but and yeah, I did use a picture of you with the beautiful white horse as a
Yeah,
just picture for the ad. So I mean that yeah, I knew that part
Larry.
right away.
Yeah.
That horse is gorgeous, but But speaking of my pain in the
Oh,
butt,
there's a
uh,
oh, that's so cute.
but so we actually have two mastiffs. That's the dogs I was talking about
Oh,
previously.
I love mastiffs. I used to have a Great Dane. Yeah, mastiffs are great. They're very sensitive. So, animals are great, and so are children. They're great indicators of the energy going around. So, if they want to go, if they sleep somewhere all the time, then obviously it's great energy. If they don't want to go somewhere, they don't want to talk to a person, or they want to walk up to a person, then obviously there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, well, they sleep in the basement normally in their crates, but they are fine down there. Like they don't once they calm down and not want to come upstairs anymore, they'll actually go to sleep and stop barking. But when
Yeah.
we have them in the back of the garage in the area that used to be our chicken coop after we cleaned it out and everything, and they just would bark their heads off nonstop. Like, and the one night we only had one at the time because our other one passed away, but we have two again now. But and she was in the back of the garage area, and we thought put her to bed, and then all of a sudden she just starts barking her head off and squealing like she's being like murdered. And me and my wife both just ran out there like, what the heck's going on? Like, did someone break in or something? But nothing. She just freaked out, and like as soon as we
So
let her out
she
of her
was seeing a
cage,
ghost.
definitely, because as soon as we let her
Yeah.
out of her cage, she just dashed in the house faster than you ever could. And my wife was actually out there partying a couple weeks ago. Well, just enjoying herself a couple weeks ago with the two dogs, and they would not. The older one kept running back into the basement from the garage because she didn't want to sit in the garage, and like she would sit at the bottom of the basement stairs and just look up and wait for my wife to go back in the house. Like,
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. They're great indicators. So if they're ever barking at nothing and there's something there, they see spirits. And they also, I bet you also your dog was seeing the one that passed too. I get that a lot of times too, where I'll be able to see and know why, what they're seeing. And a lot of times if a dog passes, the other dog that's still alive will still see them.
it's funny because my wife says sometimes she swears she could smell him because
Mm-hmm.
like even after he just got a bath, he has certain odor to him because he died at 18 weeks old because
Oh.
he was born with misshapen kidneys. So
Oh.
we had to put him down, either that or prolonged suffering for a couple more months, and which we didn't want to do that to him. But it just so ever since he passed, so back in September, my wife says like she could smell it because like he had like a certain deathly smell to him almost the way she describes it. But
Yeah, they will let you know they're around. I actually had a Great Dane that would pass gas, and the Great Dane, we had to put the Great Dane down too. And my son would even say like, "Oh my God, Wilbur's in here passing gas again," and he was in spirit. So they will come through you for different ways like that. So will people.
yeah, which I mean it's just weird. I'm waiting to see on the 5th if Harley's running around still too around the house. I mean, we have him cremated, but I know that makes no difference in the world for spirits. But
Oh no, they're still there. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, but yeah, so that's I mean we're gonna see what comes of that, and it's just funny because like the garage is just, and we actually when we had the chickens in the garage, they were randomly dying too. That's why we moved them out of there, and
Yeah,
and
well,
like
I can tap it. I'm astro traveling right now. When you're even talking about your garage, it feels very heavy, like it's even hard to breathe. Do you have do you have anything in the garage? I would get everything out of the garage.
I mean just
Normal stuff.
like snowblower, that type of stuff, and lawnmower and all that type of stuff. I mean, I moved everything that was in the shed originally before the chickens went over into the shed. But and I and yeah, other than that, it's just garbage cans and a few random things from when we moved here still. But I mean, there's nothing in there that's valuable per se, or that is living. So
Yeah,
that
I would definitely though, because everything has energy imprints. So anything that you leave in there, because it does feel very heavy, and I can't even breathe like just stepping into there. So I would probably try not to go in there until you get it cleared for sure.
I mean, I go in there, take the garbage out and recyclables out. But other than that, that's all I do is go in there and come back out. Like none of us hang out. My wife refuses to go back in there anymore because the lights started flickering when she was in there a couple weeks ago, and like she could have swore something was talking to her because she is a little bit sensitive to spirits her whole life, and she could have swore like it was the original owner of the house, Rowley, and he was
Was
telling
it a
her like,
man? Was there a man? Because I see a man.
yeah, his name is Rowley,
Yeah.
and like according to her, he said that chickens don't belong in the house when she asked why what happened to the chickens, and I mean I don't know. It's weird because when the paranormal investigators were here back in a year ago this December, they said on the spirit box, they kept saying jungle, and when they asked for the divine rods what he was talking about, and like if they asked about the chickens, like he always said yes to that jungle meant chickens. So it all kind of ties together like that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I do feel him. I do feel him there, and I feel him very taking ownership of the house too. So I'm sure he can. And he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't like you in the garage for some reason. That's funny. I feel there was something with cars. I don't know if he had a specific car he had or something there, but I
when
see him in the garage a lot.
when we were looking at the house, that he did have a very nice car here that
That's what it is.
it was like an antique, and
Hmm.
his nephew or some relative of his took it, but before we moved in, and like took it to his house or whatever. But there was a nice car sitting in the carport when we
That's
were
what
looking
I
at the house
see.
originally.
So
Yeah.
so in other words, he thinks that, that's to like you're to use the garage for something nice. And I keep seeing this car. So he was in there a lot. So he wants like nice stuff in there and like not the animals. Like so I see him kind of frightening the animals to get to get stuff out of there. He's
Makes
pretty
sense to me.
possessive over his garage, like a
I
man.
mean, well, yeah, and he was a very much a Mickey Mouser. He liked to Mickey Mouse everything in the house like himself,
Mm,
as we've learned over the last year. So I could see that him being very particular about the garage. I could see that. Like it makes
yeah.
sense, and yeah. So all right, I mean that makes sense, and maybe he was killing the chickens because it literally looked like they were just flattened. Like it was weird. Like we
He
were just
didn't yeah, he didn't want him in there. Well, it feels very heavy, so anywhere there's heavy energy, I mean, I feel like it was hard for them to breathe, and energy is everything, it's contagious, and so if it's keeping your light out and it's making it hard for you, then yeah, I feel the chickens were having a hard time breathing actually even.
well, I mean, we had a hard time breathing there when they were in there because they would kick up so much of the dust. But
Mhm.
we eventually did. We had guinea hens too in there originally, but we got rid of those because they were just too freaking loud in this house. But we don't have a shed way in the back to put them in like she did at her old house. But yeah, I mean that would make sense because we thought the chickens were just like falling off the loft or getting pushed off the loft by the guinea hens originally, and that's how they were dying. But then
Oh
when I
my.
cleaned up, when I cleaned out like a lot of when I cleaned out all the shreddings out of there when we got them out of the garage, I found 2 or 3 more dead chickens like buried in the shredding. So it was weird. But
Wow. That's
yeah,
sad.
it's sad. It was creepy, but I mean, we still have 30 something chickens, so we're fine. Plenty of eggs to go around.
You got a lot of eggs.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. We keep saying we're gonna sell them eventually, but we gotta work on that. But going back to you though, the pets you work with, you said, well, I know you said you do farm animals, but
Mhm.
what's the
I do them all.
what is? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to the meat. Trust me. But what's the what's the most unique experience you ever had with a farm animal? That's what I'm kind of wondering.
Farm animal. Well, I mean, I work with many. I work with horses. Horses are one of my favorites because they're so spiritual and they're so energy aligned. I've helped with everything. I can not only am I go in there and read like what's going on with it, physically and what's going on with it physically and health wise. I'll know like what, especially I work with a lot with horses as far as performance of why they're not jumping a certain way, or I do a lot of riders, and I will know because I'll feel in my own body what their health is and if they have anything that's going on and what will help them, if it'll be a chiropractor adjustment. And I think that's a lot of times too, people don't realize that chiropractor adjustments is really important for all animals, but especially for horses and dogs. And I kind of just will know everything health wise. If a horse sees another thing, I remember working on this one horse, they were trying to put it into the stall and to a new stall, and they were having an issue. So I went out there and I was, to help them. Why won't this horse go into the stall? And the first thing, I looked at the horse, and the horse told me that there's another horse in the stall. I'm like, well, the horse is telling me there's another horse in the stall. And then the owner looked at me and she's like, oh, yeah, his buddy just died yesterday and his buddy was in the stall. And so, that's where I'm like, well, you can't just put a horse. That's where it's proven that animals see another animal, because how would I know that the horse died, right? And the horse is telling me this. So horses are also very sensitive to energy, just like all animals. But one of my most interesting readings that I just actually did recently was there was this horse that they were having an issue with it going right down the street. It would go to lessons. The daughter would take it for horse lessons right down the street, and it would go right down the street, but it would go down one way, but not it would go down one way, but come home they would have a really hard time getting it home, and it would just kind of deviate. So she wanted to know what was wrong with it. And so the horse, I'm here in Florida, and the horse told me that there's scary animals. And I'm like, scary animals. Okay, is there an alligator? Because there's
Yeah.
alligators here. And the horse showed me, Greta showed me that there was a pond right next to her, and it was the neighbor, the pond, and the house. And so I said, well, there's a pond. It's over there in that house. And she was showing me like all these animals. She was showing me like lions and tigers. And I'm like, okay, there's no lions and tigers. I mean, maybe it's a cat, maybe it's a cat around here or something. So I tell this to the owner. I'm like, she's just showing me all these animals. She's like terrified of these animals, and it's at this specific house. And so they found out that it was a taxidermy, that the owner had a taxidermy
Oh,
in the garage. And it's what's so interesting about that is how a horse is obviously smelling the taxidermy and telling me all about these cats and stuff, that whereas like I don't understand you. But yeah, that was a very interesting one. That really helped them too, because then they started taking her a different way because they can't really go around the taxidermy.
that's that's crazy. I almost thought it was gonna be like another Tiger King type situation in Florida. But
Right? Yeah. Yeah. No, it was
I
just
mean
very interesting.
because I had relatives in Florida, and we used to go to Jaguar games in Jacksonville, and there was this one yard you could park in, but the owner owned all these snakes and lizards
Oh,
and big cats and everything, so you could park in his yard, but like you never want to go into the fence because it just forget about it. Like you might not come back out. Like
right.
so, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
with Florida, that's kind of a thing. But
Yeah,
the
it
weather
can be a
permits
thing.
it. The
It can
weather
be a
permits
thing.
it. But so you said, and actually, good segue there because you said you worked with snakes, which kind of has me like in Harry Potter mode almost. But
Well, I have done readings on them. It's funny because the readings I've done on snakes, also reptiles, I've done them on lizards, and they're all kind of the same. They're just existing. I'm like, they don't even like they just exist. I mean, if we were like their animal, they just eat, they go to the bathroom, and they hang out. Like that's really what their object is in life. And pretty much the snake reading I did, I didn't really feel like they're like, what's he thinking? And I'm like, he's really not thinking. He's just being a snake. Like he's not doing anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're primal creatures. Like they just have the basic needs, and that's all they care
Yeah.
about. I mean,
Mhm.
they are territorial though, are they not? Are they not? Like, isn't their brain made for that?
Well, it depends what kind of snake, but yeah, I mean, this was a pet snake, so a pet snake are totally different, but
Yeah.
they can be for sure. They're very in tune. They're very in tune with energy. Think about snakes because they have to sense everything. So animals are amazing because they're amazing energy readers. Even when it comes to hurricanes here, my clients, we just had a hurricane. We had the major. I'm where the hurricane was at, Ian, and
Yeah.
we had a lot of livestock and stuff out there, and it's pretty cool on how my friend had some ducks, and the ducks just naturally got into the bushes, put their head down, and went toward the storm. And it's pretty cool like how energetically they just read the energy of what's going on. And that's why the paranormal, that's why they see ghosts and stuff like that too, because they can sense and feel all of that,
Yeah, it's weird too because my dog will go outside at night and just start barking at nothing. Like,
which means
yeah,
there's something.
I mean, there could be coyotes or there could be fisher cats or black bears, even because there was one spot down the road a day ago or two. But I mean, so they could be sensing something in the woods around us. It's very possible, but like she'll just bark her head off and run around in circles almost, and it's like, but my wife says like sometimes our sensor light in our driveway goes on for no reason at night, and
Oh
like
yeah, that's a
sometimes
reason.
sometimes you'll see a coyote sitting there underneath the light when it goes on, but other times you don't see anything, like, and you're sitting there watching it go on, and it's like, and I'm guessing it's him walking in and out of the garage, like thinking like he's working on something or other. But
Yeah, the
that's how,
garage is big for him.
I mean, they got there's two here that we believe his wife is still hanging around too, but I think she hangs out in our kids' rooms because the paranormal investigators previous, at least if the divine rods actually work, which I never know if they do or not because I don't. I mean, I don't know how I feel about those, but one of them said that they like to watch the kids because they never could have kids.
Oh, I do see them, like, in the energy of the kids. Kids also are great at I mean, I'm sure your one son that I just saw are great at the perfect age too at 5 because, they will that's when I was 5 too is when I realized that. So when kids are looking at something or goo-goo-goo-guying or talking to someone and it's not there, there's obviously something there. Or if they have imaginary friends, I had a lot of those when I was a kid, really aren't imaginary. That's like a telltale sign of a ghost.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, that was actually my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter
Oh,
that you
your
saw.
daughter was there.
But
Okay.
yeah, and she never really says she sees anything. She just, I mean, she thinks she does sometimes, but it's usually just my son playing tricks on her. But with lights and mirrors and all that. But she I mean, she never sees anything. I mean, if she does, she doesn't say anything about it, and she never had an imaginary friend, as far as we know. I mean, she talks to her stuffed animals, but that's it.
Right.
And they have their own voices and everything as well. But my son has seen stuff at his aunt's house on the South Shore, but that's because they live near an old tuberculosis hospital that got torn down, so there's a lot of spirits there. But
Oh, wow, I'm sure.
so yeah, he's seen spirits there, and he sees some things in the house that they used to live in because, like I said, Native American burial ground, Bridgewater Triangle, huge area for that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So I believe
Have
there's
you
two
s
spirits here, but I'm
have
not
you
sure.
seen shadow people? Have you ever heard of shadow people?
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
My my sister-in-law was here last Thanksgiving and for like a week, and she was sitting on the couch like at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. one morning watching TV while we were all sleeping, and she swears like right out here outside my bedroom there was a shadow figure that was sitting in the hallway staring at her, and it would walk to the end of the hallway, walk into the kitchen, and then kind of come back and repeat the same cycle over and over again, kind of.
Yeah,
So
shadow people. I lived in California. There was tons of shadow people there I would see, and there's different ones. There's runners, there's boogeymen, there's regular ones, and so I did see also a lot of shadow people when I was up in your area too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think of shadow people. I've heard a lot of different conflicting tales about what they are or what they represent. I mean, I knew one investigator who followed families for years that had them in their house because he said he's seen it tear families apart. But because
Wow.
the negative energy they release just tears families apart, and that's their goal is to feed off your energy. So
They come from in ground. They only come out at night, and I've seen all families of them, all different sizes of them, and there's different ones though. So a lot of them aren't bad or evil like a lot of people think. They do a lot of psychic people like I was, but or like a lot of where there is graveyards or there's a lot of negative energy. They are around those places. I lived in Auburn, Northern California, and there's actually a mining country. You talk about ghosts. I had to argue and fight with a lot of gold miners because those people were not good, and those were like serious ghosts to deal with. But they were a lot up there too, but there is different ones, like the boogeyman. It's kind of creepy. I have seen one of those too.
what what like I never heard of like a boogeyman shadow people
The
version. Like,
Yeah, so the boogeyman, I actually went over to my girlfriend's house. This was when I was living in Northern California, and her husband worked at night, the night shift, and she lived on like 2 acres too. And she called me over and she's like, somebody is watching me. She was creeped out. She's like, it's a ghost. Somebody's watching me. Can you come over? So I came over and I'm looking at her and I look right up at her door with the window and I see it. And the boogeyman actually wears a hat. It's a black shadow figure that has like this bill with
oh,
this hat.
the
Yeah.
Hat
And
Man.
yeah, well, it's called the boogeyman too. That's the other form of it. So that's like a part of the shadow side. And he was creepy. Like he was watching her and it was pretty creepy. But I'm really good at getting rid of all that stuff. It doesn't really scare me much. So I've only had maybe two, maybe walk-ins would be ones I wouldn't really deal with. But that one was the most creepiest of them all. That of the shadow people.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about the Hat Man shadow
Hmm.
person, which if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, that's the one that people always get freaked out by because he'll be standing at the end of your bed watching you sleep,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
or yeah, that's the one where you always get the creepy feeling you're being watched. I mean, I've heard most trap people stories I've heard. It's just you see them like going down a hallway and then like that's it, or you see them like in the next room, or you just catch something out of the corner of your eye. Like it's not like they're
Right.
there trying. Which is why people usually bring the alternate dimension theory to them, like that they're ultra terrestrials and that it's like just they're over here because they don't know why. They don't know why they're over here even. They just kind of slip over for a minute or two. But
Yeah,
if that was
I see the shadow people coming out from under there. I mean, I do feel they're interdimensional beings, but I think a lot are like Bigfoot and all those too. But those ones are more, I feel, are inner ground and where there's a lot of war, depression. I realized when I first moved to Northern California, I was in Auburn, this small town outside of San Francisco. It's inland, and me being a medium, I was seeing all these dead Asian people, and I was like, "What is up with all these dead Asian people?" And I was also just feeling a lot of death, like I told you around your area too. I feel a lot of death. And the dead Asian people I found out was during Pearl Harbor times, they had concentration
yep,
camps, which I learned when I was over there. But also there's a big farming place there, and they just put a lot of those Asian people in the tunnels, and they're still there today. And so when they were there, then that's where the most shadowy people I've ever seen in my life. Because when I do a phone reading, I don't even need to be there in person, and I can tap into anything. And I will tell you, Northern California was one of the most craziest energies. And I have clients in Cambodia and Australia and all kinds of places. And there was all kinds of different energies. And it was very Auburn area was, because I think it's also because of the death of the Asians and just a lot went on there, is
yeah,
that energy was lower and heavy and had a whole bunch of death energy. And then it had a whole bunch of the oak pines. And so of the trees, which were beautiful, but trees hold on to all that energy and absorb it and bring it up. And so then you also have, that's why I believe there was a lot of shadow people there too. So shadow people usually hang out where there's that lower yucky energy, and a lot of death has been, or a lot of wars, also around depressed people, or obviously psychics too, but a lot of depressed people, or addicts. There'll be a lot of
yeah,
those around them too.
makes sense. I mean, so they kind of do feed off negative energy then, in a
Yeah,
way.
they do. Yeah.
So, all right, Lon was right, and I mean, he's seen it, so I'm sure he knows what he's talking about. He's a very well-known investigator out of Pennsylvania. But but all right, I'm gonna ask one more question about the animals, then I want to move on. But
Okay.
the animal thing just fascinates me to no end. But what is the craziest animal? Oh, actually, my little girl here decided to make an appearance.
There.
Ugh,
Oh, there
Master
she is. She's so cute. What's her name?
Munchkin.
Munchkin. She's a big munchkin.
Yeah, she's 9 months old.
Oh, she's adorable. When
You,
she's not small by any means.
no, she's not, and my leg is getting crushed by her. All right, Munchkin. Damn, Munchkin. She doesn't know she's big. She thinks she's a poodle, but
Yeah,
of
that's
course.
what the big dogs do. They're the sweetest.
But anyway, the question I was going to ask was, what is the most interesting out of any animal you worked with? What was the most interesting, craziest one you did? Like, what was the most crazy case you had with an animal?
Well, I'll tell you one that was it was kind of combo of a person and a murder case, actually. So I've worked with a lot of
Oh,
cops too. Yeah. So I was actually, because I've had a dog bakery too. So I was doing a pet psychic reading for this lady. She had a big poodle, and I'm just talking to her, about her poodle, and all of a sudden this woman comes in. She's about 17 years old, shows me her head was cut off, and she just starts, telling me all this stuff. And she's showing me this murder. She's showing me this cop that murdered her and all this evidence. And I'm just like doing this pet reading. I'm like, do you know of anybody that was murdered? And she's like, yeah, my niece was murdered 17 years ago, and they haven't found they haven't found the person yet. And long story short, it was just crazy where, like, I saw the evidence, and they also thought it was a cop that murdered her. And then they got the cops involved. So that was the most craziest pet reading, because I was just reading the dog, and here then the, person from the other side starts showing me all this stuff. And then that spirit started hanging out with me and would come to my house and do all kinds of stuff with my electricity. It was just kind of like insane. It took me a while to get her to cross over to leave me alone. But that was one of the craziest ones. But, as far as like, I've done so many, I guess one of the coolest ones I think that I've learned myself was, I mean, because I told you I do all animals. Because I can go into their body and I can feel and see and sense things too. There was this one neighborhood in Naples that was missing a lot of smaller dogs and stuff, and there was like I think like 4 or 5 dogs missing within like a couple of weeks. So they had me come in and read like what was going on, what was taking it, because I'll know like what's around there, what's going on too. And I saw a cat, and I saw this cat, so I tapped into this cat, and it was pretty cool because I was reading the cat's energy, and the cat's was just so much smarter than, I mean, I know animals are smart, but this cat was watching certain houses and was stalking the houses and knew the time of when they were letting the dogs out to, go outside and come back. And I just saw the cat like stalking and waiting. And I just thought that was amazing on how smart this cat is. Like they don't strike right away. And I'm talking about a cat. I'm talking about a panther. Uh, you
Okay,
know,
I was gonna say, yeah.
no, not a regular, yeah, a panther. And they did end up they did end up finding the panther, but because the panther was sneaking around and the animals, and I've seen this a lot of wild animals, reading coyotes. Not coyotes are amazing too, and how they play the animals and stuff. And so I've done so many animals like that. I just say like that was one of the most interesting ones, but I can help with everything. I've helped with why, the dog is, I actually saved a dog's life. It had some stomach issues, and I just told him, I said, I think you got to get in there because it's cancer, and it was cancer. And so they got it a lot earlier than it would have, but I can help with anything, with food, with allergies, why are they behavior? Why are they not doing this? It was funny the other day, somebody just asked, I had a reading with a cat, and her cat peed on her couch when they were gone. And I see this all the time because cats are mad. They're really mad because the people just leave them. So they go pee on things because they're mad. So
Yeah.
I would use the P word, but I'm not using the P word. So yeah, so they do that all the time. So I mean, there's been so many animals. I've been working with thousands of animals. I'm there to help with healing them and finding out what's going wrong with them.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And which I mentioned before I paid all the money I did to get Harley, figure out what's wrong with Harley, but probably would have been a lot more affordable, I'm not sure. But
And yeah, I work with even vets. Vets will be like, I'm stumped. I can't figure this out. And I'll go in and I'll feel it in my own body. I just had this horse where there was something going on in its foot, and the vet couldn't figure it out. What was they did everything, and they're like, I still don't know what it is. And I'm like, I feel a splinter up in its foot, because I would feel it in my own body. And I'm like, it's right up the hoof. It's right here. And it was great. They took an x-ray, and it was exactly where I said it was. And it was just this little bone spur that was in there.
oh, poor horsey. But yeah,
But pets also see spirits too. So I will look through the pets here. Like a lot of times I'll be doing a pet reading, and they'll show me. Just the other day, the cat showed me the person's dad, that the dad was around them too. So animals are huge on seeing ghosts and loved ones on the other side. They see them all the time. And also they're, other pets too.
yeah, makes sense. I mean, because it's funny because whenever you mention Harley's name to Munchkin, Munchkin gets all like depressed when she hears it. Like her eyes go down, her head goes
Oh,
down. I mean,
oh,
they fought like crazy, but I guess they loved each other deep down
oh
somehow.
yeah. They're still, yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, him.
Just
I swear to God, we think Munchkin's gonna kill our new one, Moose. Like Moose is only 9, 10 weeks old now, and he's a small compared to her. And we swear to God, we think she's gonna kill him because she'll pick him
well.
up by the collar and drag him around and everything.
How cute. Well, she's probably just like, you got to give her attention. She's the alpha dog, so you got to give her attention first.
Oh, she gets plenty of attention, don't you, Munchie?
She's cute.
Yeah, all 100 pounds for. Yep. All right. Well, I said after that we could move on from the pets, and we can. But and since you like to talk about death energy, I mean, well, dark energy like death energy. Let's talk about healing energy.
Yeah,
With
sure.
we'll go with humans because we already covered pets for a while now. But so I actually have talked to a few people over the last week or two that do this, and I am fascinated by it because I've now met people that like can detect that they help people get rid of cancer and everything else, and
I do that. Hmm.
I was gonna figure that, but
Yep. People and pets, I can help with that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's stuck energy. So working with your energy field, which your energy field is everything. That's where we get stuck energy, and everything will manifest actually from your emotional well-being, but it also can be environment and things going on around you. So it's really important to clear that energy and cut those energy cords to anything draining your energy. The other thing is past lives. A lot of people don't realize that we can bring in things from past lives, and if you heal that, then you can actually heal now, and that's where a lot of cancers or addictions or food allergies and the healings I've done have disappeared. And we're talking just vanished. We're talking like total different.
See, I mean, I was actually supposed to have a past life reading done a couple months ago, but someone who was formerly was on my podcast at one point, she had a family emergency, couldn't do it, but so I still have to actually get with her to reschedule that. But I mean, it's interesting. I love past lives. I love the idea of it, that finding out who you were, like, because I'm a huge believer in reincarnation. So
Mhm.
I've always and fate and all that. So I it's interesting to me, like the idea of like finding out like in a past life you were a knight in an army in Germany or something like that. Like it's kind of cool.
Whatever you're drawn to a lot, like, so a lot of people, like one of my sons since he's been little, he's been into the world wars, like all the wars, like he's been into so many wars, and that's what he's drawn to, the shows, the toys, all those things. And, so I did a past life on him. Obviously, he was in a war. So whatever you're really drawn to, most likely you were there in one of your past lives. I mean, we've had thousands of past lives, but whatever one you're really drawn to, you had it made a big significance in your life at that time.
See, that's the thing. I'm not drawn to anything, but I mean, TV maybe, but other than that, I'm not really drawn to, and I mean the paranormal, of course.
I
But
was just going to say you're paranormal, so I'm sure, and where you live, I'm sure that you had a lot of places up there, and you probably were there was probably a lot of haunted stuff going on in your past life.
yeah, I mean, well, I'm originally from New York actually, but I mean, still, that's the Northeast, and it's full of revolutionary. I mean, I went to high school in one of the biggest Revolutionary War towns of all of New York, so yeah. I'm sure you've heard of the burning of Kingston, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, past lives interest me to no end, and I actually am dying to get that done. I gotta really hit up Jane and get that done.
Yeah, it's cool. Like this one lady died in a past life. And when I was doing her past life, she died in a past life of being actually poisoned by food. And in this lifetime, she was allergic to everything. So, I mean, like weird everything, like apples and fish and just like random weird stuff. She had tons of food allergies. So after the past life, her food allergies just disappeared. Like she's like, I'm all better. And I've seen my own things too. I had this big splotchy spot that went all the way up my legs since I was a little girl. It looked like I was burned. And my mom even took me to the doctor younger, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And then I did a past life on me, probably about the age of 32. And of course, I was a witch in a past life, and I was burned at the stake. And I did see that. And just by seeing that, I woke up and my splotchiness is gone, like
Yeah,
totally
that's
gone.
that's a witch in a past life burnt the stake. Oof, I would not wanna have to relive that one.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah, but
bad.
that's it. Well, we've all had good and bad. We've all been everybody, man, woman, everything. So, yeah, the past lives are amazing. So that is a form of way of healing energy. I also work with sound healing. I work with my energy healings remotely. They're not even here. I record them. So I
Yeah.
go into your body and I clear anything that needs to go, which is emotional, physical, which will go into the physical realm too.
Huh. I may have to actually talk to you about working with my wife afterwards.
Yeah, it helps with anxiety, nervous system, everything helps with manifesting. I mean, doing an energy healing is going to help you in all ways.
Interesting. I may have about that after the show. But, so are you
You just cut out on me.
a believer that every walk of life did the same thing to me? Streaming
Wait a minute. You're slowing down here.
StreamYard's been weird lately.
Okay, there
Yeah,
we go.
StreamYard's been
Okay.
weird lately. It keeps cutting out.
Yeah, I hear you now. What was the question? No, now you're cutting out. Okay. I hear
Sorry.
you laugh. I don't see you, but I hear you.
Yeah. Well, I was asking, can you hear me now?
Kind of. Yeah, I hear you now. No, it's going in and out. I don't hear you. Maybe a ghost is making it quiet.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me though or no?
Now
Still
I
can't hear
can.
me or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah.
All right. All right. My question was, do you think every okay, it's not God.
I heard my question is now what?
God, why does it keep doing this? I don't understand it. But
Okay, so you're
my
feeling
question,
that too.
did you hear the
Yeah.
question or no?
No, I did not. Now I hear you. Now I see you too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
All
every
right, beautiful.
okay.
I'm sorry. It's hard not to laugh at this, but I, what is going on with this? I have internet, but
I can hear you now.
okay, good. So, is everybody intuitive, or is it a select thing? I'll keep the question shorter. Maybe it won't freeze.
Yeah, so well, every single person's intuitive. I have a school called Magical University. I teach people how to be a medium. Yeah, every single person's intuitive. It's just like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you learn how to use it, the more will come into you. I mean, the minute you meet somebody, you're already reading their energy by, oh, this person is nice, this person isn't nice. I trust this person, I don't trust this person, and intuitively, you're already with everything in life. When you walk into a house or your business or your job, we're all listening to our intuition speaks through our body, so through our senses. So yes, we're all intuitive. It's just like having a muscle. It's just some people are more intuitive or more, I think, more listen more to it, but you can grow it and listen to it more.
Yeah, because I've had a couple psychics on here before that like they told me like they're like I sense something in you, and I'm like, well, when I talk to some psychics and memes, I get this thing in the middle of my head that won't go away. Like it's like a just like a buzzing almost, and like a bright light in my eyes, and I'm like, what's going on? Like it's the first time it happened, it scared the crap out of me. I thought I was having a heart attack, but then after that, I'm realizing it's only when I talk to those who have the gift. So I'm like,
Yeah. So you're
that's
you're tapping
interesting.
into that energy because your third eye.
Which Yeah, which I never did that till I started this podcast, which is the part that interested me the most out of all that. But you know what? I said I'm gonna go back to this at the end. And what do you think 2023 is gonna look like next year? Because 2022 hasn't been easy, so I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I just did my predictions on 2023. So from 2020 to 2024, we're moving into this new frequency, this new wave universe. So everything is kind of shedding. So 2023 is going to be a continuing on of kind of shedding and shifting into a new universe. So, new structures, new paradigms, new way of doing school, new way of doing money, new way of working. All of that's going to continue to shift and change. And it's going to come really, really fast. The other thing that's going to happen is whatever you think manifesting is going to happen really fast. So it's going to be really, be really choosing your stories and what you're putting out there because it's going to happen. You're going to see, especially March. March is when I feel there's going to be some major change with the whole entire universe, and you're going to see more of a division. Definitely next year, division between states, the United States, and we'll leave you with this. Then in the very beginning, like in the next election, I do not see one president. I see each governor. The fall of United States is definitely happening. It's only going to continue, and it's going to continue to be divided and get more even so with certain states having certain laws and rules. I mean, we're already going through this, it's to this extreme, but I see more of that. I do feel some shortages of food. Water is my biggest concern, is water being shortage. And like I've been telling people since 2020, actually since 2019, because I did predict this, is get self-sufficient as much as you can, which means grow your own food. You got chickens. Chickens are great. Get self-sufficient, be off the grid as much as you can in your own ways is what I'm saying is look for different ways to get food. So maybe go to the farmer's market. You're going to see more of a food shortage and a water shortage and just a shortage in general of everything. But the water shortage is what's if you could live somewhere where you have a spring or have something or a well water, you have more apt to, get water. That's, the rivers are already drying up. I just talked about the Mississippi one. I predicted that, and that was just spoken here the other day. We're going to see some major, major global issues as far as weather, and it's starting right now. The volcano, the Ring of Fire, which is on the West Coast, there's going to be lots of earthquakes, both in the ocean and not. And I see Mexico, New York, and Alaska. Those are like, and California are the hot spots of a lot of destruction when it comes to weather. So yeah, we're gonna keep on seeing this upheaval, but it's going to really be a beautiful time as far as manifesting. So if you think positive, if you think amazing, and your positive energy, you'll be having a wonderful 2023.
Interesting, interesting. But we're
Yeah,
not gonna have
go ahead.
the fact that you said we're not gonna have one president after the election kinda has me like, "What?"
Yep. That's why I'm saying that right now. Even before 2019, I said that the governors were going to have some more say so with the whole COVID. I mean, before COVID even came, I saw this new way of living. Yeah, well, it's a breakdown. And think about it. We've been having one president for the United States for millions of people, but like since the 1800s, like it's not working anymore. And so it's going to be very interesting. The election will be very interesting, but you're going to see the states continue to break down, becoming more separated. And it's going to be really important to live in a state that you agree with, because the governor is going to be kind of like the president. And I do see some states that will, like if you're in a Democratic state, some other Democrat states will line up together and become kind of like their own laws and rules. And then there'll be some individuals, and it's just going to be a very interesting time to see politically. But I also see huge things changing with the money. We're not going to have the same monetary system that we have, or the school system. All old systems are breaking down and will be changing. But 2023 will be the year of upheaval, but after upheaval will be where we can get into this new systems, and it's a beautiful time to create new, and we need new. We've been doing the same thing since 1800s. I mean, it's just not working anymore.
We've been doing the same thing since the 1600s, for God's sake, even in this
True.
country, but
True.
yeah, we've invented things since then that improve our lives dramatically, but it's still with the same type of system almost, so it makes
Right.
sense, but
I mean, the school system is not helping the kids. I mean, the kids now are much more intuitive. They learn a different way, and we're in a different era, but they're still trying to do the same school system. So I do see that changing too. The school systems have been changing, and they will continue to break down. They'll go more online. I even see universities more going online. More kids will not go straight to college. They'll just do more trade schools, or, like look at it. We have teenagers right now that are making a lot of money off, just doing online stuff, Instagram, and they're just social media people. So I do feel the continue of that.
yeah, I have them in my inbox all the time trying to get me to pay them for promotion, but
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
which, I'm not a fan of them because I'm like, "I don't wanna pay for promotion, like, if you wanna promote me, be my guest, but I'm not paying for it." Like, I can do that on my own. I don't need people to do it for me, but
It should be interesting when the millennial. I have 5 kids, so I have from 30 down to 15, but when the new kids, the 20-year-olds that grow up, it's gonna be a whole new place because they're used to instant gratification. They have the internet, they get things instantly, so it's just gonna be a different way of living.
yeah, it's gonna be a whole new world, and me and my wife talk about it sometimes, and we're scared of how it's gonna be for them. Like, we're scared of how their life's gonna be,
Oh,
especially
they'll be fine. It's gonna be us. They'll be fine. They'll be great manifestors. The biggest thing is even to doing for them is to start being off government assistance, start living from the land as much as you can, start being in control of your own stuff, and not, trying, like, learning how to do things. That's the other thing I've been telling people, is learning how to garden, learning how to build things, being self-sufficient is going to be a biggie.
yeah, that's where I fail because I am horrible at being self-sufficient when it comes to fixing and building things, but I'm not that type of man. My father wasn't, my father was to some degree, but he really wasn't, and, like, so I had no one to teach me it, and I just never learned it, but my wife can do the gardening part, though, very well, but just the land we live on is crap. We live on very sandy, dirty dirt land, and it's just not you
You can
can't
do
grow, like,
pots, right? Raised. You could do raised pots,
yeah.
raised things.
Yeah, Yeah, we did that this year, but we gotta next year fence it all off because the damn chipmunks and squirrels ate and the chickens ate everything.
Oh, yeah, those can. Yeah.
So I mean, we gotta fence it off. That's all. But what did come of it
Sure.
was good. But all right, before I let you basically promote and sell yourself to your heart desire, um, what are are there any last words that you want to give to anybody who hears this on what they should do in their life to get ready for this? Like, or just
Um,
to make just to make their life better in general, I guess, be the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for anything and energy or anything as far as manifesting and just living a great life is to get happy. To if you're not in a great relationship, if you're not in a great job, if you don't like where you live, well, do something about it. Take action. Right now is the time to take action. So the more you let go, the other big thing too, moving into 2023 is our physical bodies are going to be talking to us big time. So if you want to let go of all garbage, so that means forgive and let go of the past, and do not try to bring the past into the future of 2023. So that means those people that irritate the hell out of you, it's time to say, you know, I'm going to let this go, and I'm going to forgive you, because holding on to that energy will only drain your own energy and suck you dry. And especially 2023, we're moving into this frequency and this vibration that our body is going to be talking to us like crazy, physically, pain wise. If there's a pain, ask it, there's something going on emotionally. Getting as much self-sufficient as you can, like I said, learning things, maybe even getting some books to learn how to do things just in case you can't get it, because there will be a shortage of some stuff. So just be ready to make your own and find other ways. The beautiful thing is I do see that where people are going to start going back to bartering, and they're going to start having little communities where, you grow something and I know how to fix something, and then we can just all barter and come along together. So there will be more of a division, but on the other side, I see that wherever you're at and you are with your tribe, you will be closer and more connected in that way. So that's the biggest advice I would give everyone. Get happy. It's that simple.
Good advice, I agree. But question I have is it just gonna be the United States doing this, or is it gonna be the whole world?
It's the whole world. United States is going to get the biggest hit. I mean, I said this since 2019, because karmic wise, we were also the wealthiest and also the most ego. So we are going to get hit the biggest thing. I do see us getting hit the most, but this is globally. Globally is the whole energy is shifting, and the frequency is shifting, and that means old structures and paradigms have to change. There can also be more division between the countries wise too, so there could be some little wars popping up there. But this is all over. This isn't just here. Our frequency, our vibration is changing, our DNA is changing. So it's all going to be shifting and changing and continuing to do that, and especially in 2023. Things are going to start speeding up, time speeding up. Have you heard about CERN? Do you know about CERN? CERN?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the super collider that they started up, yeah.
So this is a part of, and if you haven't, I'm sure you've watched Stranger Things. Have you
Of
watched?
course.
Okay. So this is Stranger Things. And Stranger Things actually was based on a true story of Montucket. Montucket, I
M
think it was.
The
Mon
Montauk Project, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, and this is what I predicted in 2019. And when they started CERN, they've started, so they're upgrading. So the other thing you might be interested in this that I see, I just predicted this. I do weekly predictions on my YouTube channel, but and on Facebook, but I just predicted this is I see different dimensions, and I actually feel that people are going to go missing. So I think it's the next is going to be the frequency of like airplanes, frequency, like the frequency shifting. And I do believe it started with it's the times and it's the universe, but I feel CERN is like it's going to be like Stranger Things, just like that. Like we'll be in a different dimension and be like, what? People are already seeing different dimensions, and people will start just kind of tapping in there, and they will probably be finding black matter. I did hear something recently where they said they think they did. Well, that's because of CERN. CERN's really going to kind of screw things up and speed things up and make us go into this whole different world. I mean, don't be surprised if you see UFOs and aliens like really fast in the next couple of
Oh,
weeks, even.
oh, my wife actually sees them all the time out our windows. I mean, I've seen them in the past, but not here, and I haven't seen one here yet, really, but I'm also not I'm too busy with podcasting and kids and work to look at the sky, really. So, I mean, sometimes I will, but
But aliens,
Gar-
we will be seeing aliens here on Earth. Like you don't have to be a psychic. Like you'll be like, oh, there's an alien. Like it's going to be, that's what we're going to be seeing. We're going to be in different dimensions. And I just see this kind of like time warp
My
stuff
wife,
happening. You just went blank on me again. You froze.
ooh, interesting. Going, is
Look, we're
that better?
talking, see, we're talking about the frequency and then when you froze. See, they're already freezing me.
It's
Yeah.
been happening. It's been happening a lot this weekend. It really has. But I did 3 shows in one day, and like my 2 shows I hosted. I mean, it might just be my internet. I'm not sure, but it's just
Yeah.
weird. It freezes a lot, but lately. But yeah, it's weird you say that because like my wife actually like she about a week ago she was out in the front porch and like I was asleep, and then like I finally went like I woke up it was like 3 o'clock. She wasn't in bed yet. I went out. I'm like, hey, you okay? What's going on? She's like, I swear to God, I just looked at my phone and saw it was 3 o'clock. She's like, last time I looked at my phone a minute ago, it was 1:30. Like she swears she's been
Mhm.
abducted her whole life and that she loses time when it happens.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we're gonna have more time warps. We're gonna have more of that stuff, but we're also gonna see like people go missing. Mhm.
Oh, I mean, we've been seeing that for the last 50, 60 years a lot. So
But
I
this is gonna
if
be
it's
extreme. Yeah.
like Roanoke extreme or
I just see, I don't know. I feel that there'll be like planes and, kind of like Bermuda Triangle, like amplified.
yeah,
I feel stuff like that.
interesting. So kind of like actually we were just talking about Malaysia flight MH370 in one of my podcasts I was doing this weekend. So kind of like that, like the whole
Hmm.
plane just disappears and no
Hmm.
one knows what happened. No country's gonna take blame for it or anything. Like it disappeared out of thin air, basically.
Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting.
And I see fast speeding flight. I do see new technologies. So I do feel they're going to come up with new ways of flying that are going to be really fast and fast trains, fast planes. But I really see really fast planes. So they already, I just see new ways of doing things.
Well, that gives a lot to think about, and I hope my listeners will not be hearing this until the first month of 2023, so that's gonna be all the more interesting.
Oh,
But
cool.
so, but before I let you go, why don't you tell them where they can find you, where they can find your book or books? Because I couldn't really find information about your book, but
Yeah. So first of all, me, VickieLuna.com. So it's VICKIE, Luna like the moon.com, VickieLuna.com. I do, I'm on there. I do have my book, Manifest Anything You Want in 30 Days. I have some more books coming out too that will probably be out the first of the 2023. Actually, I have a book called Closet Medium that is coming out. I have healing products. I have healing teas and essential oils, and I have a pet line of healing products too. I have all of that on my website, VickieLuna.com, and I'm big on social media. I do a lot of weekly predictions and everything on Facebook and social media and all of that. So you can find me all over.
and I will be sure to put your website on the description when I release this episode, as well as and I put my episodes on YouTube, so I'll tag you in the YouTube one regardless. So that
Okay,
way,
great.
and I market all my episodes like crazy, so you'll be tagged in every social media site when it comes out. But um, you of course can find me, as all my listeners know, on Facebook as Paranormal the New Normal / Maniacal Music Musings podcasts with a S. Find her on the gram as
You froze. You're frozen again. I don't know if we froze. but I see you're frozen.
All right, there we go. Somehow that
I
worked.
heard you.
All right, so thank you, Vickie, for coming on. I'll say it one last time because I'm going to have to edit all that previous stuff out. But
Okay.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And can't wait to have people hear this episode. And I will catch all my listeners in half a week.
Thank you.